I want to understand what you think emotional quotient is, Vibha. If you could unmute yourself, then I'll be able to answer your question. Like, where's this question coming from? I'd like to understand the space in terms of what do you mean by what is the significance of EQ?
Uh, I was reading a lot of articles on EQ and why, you have to have an emotional quotient and what are the effects like in job perspectives and what companies look for. So I just wanted to ask you in general, see, having how is it very important to have an emotional quotient and how does that affect, your personality and overall in things in general and why do companies say more specific, they like look for people who have EQ rather than IQ in today's sense. So I just wanted to ask you in regards with that. Why EQ is so important.
Whenever you work for a company, whichever company you work for, you are essentially working with human beings along with technology. All human beings have emotions, and in your ability to understand those emotions, you are demonstrating your EQ or your emotional quotient. So you come from a space where you believe that you are not the most important person in the room just because you have emotions. Other people have emotions too. And those emotions might lead them to make certain decisions that you may not be happy with or you may not even understand. But EQ is really all about understanding that you are not the most significant person in the room and that you have to be sensitive to the emotions. You have to be sensitive to the you know to the thought processes of people who have these emotions, and thereby you're able to interface with them in as efficient a way as possible by minimizing conflict. See, there's no human relationship or dynamic where there is an absence of conflict. It just doesn't exist. But if you can minimize the conflict, or even better, deal with the conflict, then that means you have been effectively been able to troubleshoot, and that means you have high EQ. When you say somebody has high EQ, it means they are more interpersonally sensitive, they are more relationally attuned to what other people are going through. So they are not necessarily selfish or self-centered. They're able to extend of themselves, give of themselves, share, collaborate, isn't it? So that's why companies that are looking for people with high EQ are looking for people who are more humane, more sensitive, more empathetic. Because a good leader isn't just good at his job, but he's also good at ensuring that other people are good at their jobs by being emotionally available to them and by removing obstacles for his team and by addressing the various emotional needs as well, where appropriate. What are the various emotional needs of people within his team? Because people who have to be efficient have to be able to also deal with their various emotions. So, efficiency, we are not machines, right? Human beings have families, they have financial responsibilities, they have social burdens that they carry, they have old habits that haunt them, they have tragic and frustrating pasts that they bring with them to the workplace, isn't it? So the question is less about only EQ. It's also about how do you create a how do you create a happier work environment, which is why companies nowadays are prioritizing EQ as well, because you don't just want someone who's book smart. You also want someone who's person smart, people smart, isn't it? Who's good at dealing with other human beings. All right, what's the next question? Can you share what kind of counseling you pursue with companies or corporates? Kamini. So, Kamini, I create workshops for corporates. I'm also active in helping them set up counseling cells of their own. So, a lot of our students, get trained in counseling skills and are a part of the corporate world. So, I work as a consultant with them because I have also worked in the corporate world before I was a mental health consultant. So, I'm able to understand how those structures work. I do a lot of webinars the way I'm doing it for you guys. I design bespoke seminars as well. And I interface with HR teams and help them develop their own initiatives as well as a consultant. So, as a consultant, of course, I either design the modules or I help them design the modules. I deliver the presentations. So, and also a lot of employees are either sent to me for private consultations if they're going through stress of some kind, or they're just feeling like crap about their jobs, etc. So that's how I interface with the corporates. What does corporates expect from what does a corporate expect from psychology counselors? Psychology counselors? Or you mean those who are into psychological counseling? Well, they expect you to know your stuff as they would with anyone. You need to have the correct counseling skills. You need to know, have the correct credentials, and you have good referrals. That helps, you know. So they expect people to, be available. A lot of people are not easy to reach. Maybe you don't. With corporates, it's very important for you to be very easy to reach, because they may call or email you anytime, and it's good to have references as well. People who they can check with about you. So that's what they usually expect. I mean, you got to know your stuff, right? What kind of consulting fees they pay just for understanding? Kamini, it really depends on your prowess. I cannot advise on consulting fees. I think the best is for you to set your own consulting fees based on what you think your knowledge is worth, and then for you to bargain, negotiate accordingly with the corporate, isn't it? I mean, if you have a PhD and you have an MBA like me, which is a double qualification, and you have industry experience that it goes international. I've worked in Singapore and Malaysia. Of course, I can charge a healthy amount based on all those unique experiences. So it really depends on who you are and how your CV reflects the breadth of your experiences, and whether they want someone with those experiences, isn't it?
So,
So yeah, yes, Kenas.
Nazir.
Yeah, yeah, I can
So,
see.
like from so as you were talking about uncertainties, so I have myself be I think so experienced certain uncertainty when there is announcement. Is because I don't know why, but there's something announcement or random message from someone, because I'm the one who prefer going through a plan. Or it's okay if the plan doesn't work, but certain unexpected things makes me a little bit uncertain, I feel.
What kind of announcements are you referring to out here?
So any announcement like family announcement, something in family or something from college or anything, but anything unexpected, like this whole thing pandemic was unexpected.
Well, let's just say no human being, Kenas, likes surprises that are unpleasant. Neither do I. I don't like unpleasant surprises either, but hey, that's life. I mean, as simply put as it can be. Life is full of unpleasant surprises. When someone suddenly gets cancer in a family, when there is a certain sudden drop in profitability of a certain industry that you're a part of, when you're suddenly laid off, maybe because your company can no longer harbor those many employees. Life is full of uncertainties, Kenas, and to expect uncertainties in your life is, in my opinion, the healthy way to live. Because if you expect that everything will happen according to your plan, that's a lie. Ask yourself through the history of your life as well. For every plan you've had, how many of those plans have perfectly worked out to the minutest details that you had planned in your head for those plans? And you'll be shocked that none of those plans have probably worked out exactly as you wanted them to. Yes, some degree of accuracy is there. Like, suppose I had a plan that I will go to St. Xavier's College and graduate, isn't it? And that plan came true. But suppose I had a plan that I will go to St. Xavier's and graduate and have no problems, and I'll have like 2,000 friends, and I'll be the most popular person in college. Did that happen? Not really. So it's about altering your expectations rather than not having them. Some people get very upset. I will not have expectations from tomorrow. I will tomorrow, kal se, I will have no emotions. But that's not how it works. I mean, you're a human being. You will have expectations and emotions, and disappointments will come as a result of those emotions being met. Someone else's emotion. So don't forget, just the way you have plans, someone else also has plans as well, and those plans may be completely in opposition to your plans. And I did speak about this in the talk as well. It's like this, the genie comes to you and says, I grant you one wish. And then you say, I want to be the richest person in the world. Then the genie goes to the other person and asks the other person, I want to grant you one wish. And that person says, I want this, the other person's wish to not be fulfilled. So he should not be the richest person in the world. मतलब क्या हो गया? It got neutralized, isn't it? That's life. For every plan you have, there is a force that will try to neutralize it. So you have to be flexible, but also to some degree, a little bit aggressive. And you have to have multiple plans, which is why I said the plan is to have more plans. Okay. So I hope that answers your questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Kamini Sharma is asking, can you share an example of your counseling in a corporate with employee having job stress? Kamini, how can I share with you what happens in 1 hour with a different with an individual? See, every individual has bespoke and very different problems, So you have to engineer a very bespoke approach based on their problems. So you cannot give an example of a counseling session because it's 1 hour, isn't it? It's I mean you learn the approach, you learn how to use it. That's what it is. People deal with all kinds of stress coming. People deal with stress that they are not happy with their bosses. People deal with stresses that they don't want to go to the office because some colleague is trying to sabotage them. People are upset that they haven't gotten their promotions due, which they should have gotten because they worked for so many years with the company. People are upset that they've had to take pay cuts. These are some of the common problems that people deal with, and then they come for counseling and we find alternatives for them. We brainstorm together. That's how counseling works. It's a conversation. It's not that you come and I'm going to give you ashirvad and 5 solutions. You have to help the client also learn to think for themselves. You don't want them to be dependent on you till the end, isn't it? You want them to also find clever solutions. You need to help them find ways. If a person comes to me one to one, the HR is not involved. If I'm designing a workshop the way I was invited here by Kiran and I designed this workshop to be delivered to you guys, then that's the only involvement. A couple of emails, and that's about it. When a counseling session takes place, it is between a counselor, which is me, and the client or the counselee. These terms are used interchangeably. So then it's a private discussion. No? It doesn't have to become a mela or a tamasha. So yeah, someone else was unmuting to ask the question. Go ahead. I'm all ears. Tell me.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you one more thing. When you were speaking about stress, so social media and the amount of information that comes through WhatsApp and other things, so that also causes a sort of, overload to the brain. So how should we deal with that and not respond to a lot of the negativity which is going on regarding a lot of things right now and uncertainty regarding the rules and regulations and guidelines around corona and all the other things.
I would say it's like this. If you eat only deep fried food for 5 days, you will feel sluggish, you will put on weight. And even though French fries might be very tasty, they have zero nutritional value. So, the same way you decide what goes inside your body when it comes to food, and you don't really eat deep fried foods. कभी कभी मन किया तो छोले भटूरे खा दिए कभी कभी मन किया तो यार एक समोसे का मन कर रहा है that is different but if you only eat samosas for 5 days it's going to really mess with your. Similarly, if you are constantly on social media and only binging on news, bad news, statistics of COVID, people sharing fake news sometimes. अरे इस building में ये हो गया, अरे ये vaccine actually आ रहा है, अरे अरे नहीं आ रहा, नहीं आ रहा है. So it really depends on what you're feeding your mind. Like what I do is I turn off my Instagram and WhatsApp notifications, so my phone doesn't get those notifications only. When I'm free, when I feel like I have nothing better to do or I'm taking a break between tasks, at that point, what I will do is I will go and check Insta pe kya ho gaya, WhatsApp pe kuch aaya hai kya, and I archive groups. I keep archiving them. Do a swift because what people who are if somebody is in peril or in danger, they're not going to WhatsApp you. They're going to give you a phone call and say, "Where the hell are you? We need you." So WhatsApp is not to be used for emergencies. It's to be used for logistics and for sharing of information. So limit your exposure, I would say. Be careful of the kind of groups that you're a part of. If you're in groups where people are only ranting and complaining and upset and angry and anti Modi and anti this and that, and they're just constantly debating, then you pick up on that, isn't it? I
Thank
hope
you
that
so
answers
much,
your
sir.
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nafisa Mirza has unmuted herself, but I can only hear sounds in the background. So some kind of sign language, huh, Nafisa? But I don't speak sign language. You have a question, ask me. No problem. I'm here.
So, till the time someone comes up, I actually wanted you to address a very, important thing that I think from on as being on the other side of a college, where where we are trying to give adequate amount of information and certain information, precise, clear instructions as to what is happening. I have seen a lot of the students have been like, not lot, I think 99% of them must be like, just waiting for us to guide them as to when exams happen and how admissions will happen, lectures, and etc. etc. So that in itself is a major stress factor. But sometimes I feel, as as a college, as faculty members, we might we ourselves also come in that whole zoo, because we don't have clear information ourselves, because we have to be following the regulations and we are waiting for another 10 people before we can actually come up with something. So sometimes, because we cannot give them, because we are the point of contact to them, the direct point of contact, they get impatient, and which in a way is justified, because they want clarity about things, and every student would want to know what's going to happen. But your take on how students can actually deal with this, because many a times, I don't know if you would agree, but as faculty we can't really, we can't give them the information that they really want the way they want it. And that, I feel, it increases the gap between the faculty and the students, because then it's like faculty is not there for us, kind of thing. So something for
Well,
the students are.
I think the recurring theme, Kiran, of these last couple of months has been impatience and chaos. I
Yeah,
think everyone is experiencing impatience because the situation by itself is extremely chaotic and random, and it's not playing favorites. It is messing with everyone, regardless of how much money you have or how illustrious your family name is. The coronavirus doesn't care. It will kill you if you have a comorbidity or if you're above a certain age group, and if you're lucky to have survived, like Mr. Bachchan, who came back home, thankfully, right? So here's the thing: the faculty's job is to do what they can, and the student's job is to do what they can. I don't think anyone at this point can expect perfection or some kind of flawless, information chain coming to them, because y'all are faculty, all right? Y'all are not Twitter. You know what I mean? As I said, y'all are faculty. Y'all are not Twitter that sab kuch live information aega. So you're not expected to be like the Bombay Stock Exchange where the live numbers are changing. You're a human being, so there's going to be time for you to process it, maybe send out an email or some kind of alert, etc. So go easy on yourselves, yeah. It's not your job to weed out every issue of, if the students are having emotional issues. I believe you all are all adults, and I think it's very important for adults to behave like adults, in the sense that one of the key indices of being an adult is how you manage your expectations, really, from this world. Children have very simple expectations कि मेरे को खाना दो, मेरे को प्यार दो, मेरे को पैसा दो, मेरे party organize करो. But as adults, you realize no one gives a shit about what you want. That's just how it is. If you want something, you go get it. If you don't know something, you go find out. If you're confused, get unconfused. If you don't feel like you're interesting, go become interesting. Read more books, meet interesting people, change who you hang out with. Being an adult is all about taking control. And I think all of us can only control our expectations. We can't control what other people do for us, or do with us, or do to us. But we can manage what we expect, so we don't end up spending our lives disappointed or frustrated or angry or guilty or lazy, isn't it? Because if you feel like, if a student feels like, oh, we're not getting the information we want, that's because your faculty is not NDTV, Baba. Your faculty's job is not to only give you information. No? They're doing what they can. So as I said, a little bit of empathy goes a long way, man. It's very hard being a faculty member, but but I understand it's also equally hard being a student, isn't it? But understand, a faculty member is likely to be a faculty member even after you have stopped being a student. So they have a long innings ahead of them. So they're probably quite used to doing what they do, but even they have been thrown into a corner. So a little bit of empathy towards your teachers, towards your admin members, or your facilitators, a little bit of empathy. They're human beings too. They have families too. I think that goes a long way, यार. थोड़ा सबर रखो. सब पानी में है, और सब अपनी अपनी स्पीड पे तैर रहे हैं. किसी को डूबना नहीं है ना? So just be kind, यार. Poor Kiran is probably trying to do so much. I can sense the disappointment in her voice. Who's giving her trouble? Don't give her trouble, yeah. And please don't unmute yourself and say garam masala. Huh? Someone actually did that. I'm talking on garam masala. I'm like, ये क्या हो गया? हल्दी दूध पियो, हल्दी दूध. गरम मसाला मत डालो उसमें. Anyway, any more questions?
I don't think so.
I just realized my background has these two white things out here. They look like
Yeah.
two spaceships. Yeah, I hope one of them is actually a spaceship and takes me away to another planet where I don't have to wear a mask. Probably have to wear a mask in outer space though, right? We're all frustrated, guys. We're all frustrated, tired to some degree, even enraged with the way things are progressing. But hey, man, that's just what it is. And we're going to have to be there for each other, to support each other through this pandemic, isn't it? Kamini has another question. Let's see. I would like to know if one has to plan to do corporate counseling. How do we prepare for that? Well, you connect with HR professionals and pitch yourself. Have a business card that you are able to share digitally as well. Have a nice LinkedIn profile which has some recommendations on it. So you just identify everyone in your friend circle who's in HR, approach them, ask them if they have a need or a requirement. Based on my experience, unless you are very good, they're not going to pay you a lot of money. And that's a fact for anything. So make sure you're good, make sure you know your skills. Yeah. And that's what I would recommend. Kamini really wants to get in the corporate market. घुसना है, पूरी तरह घुसना है. घुस जाओ यार. बहुत काम है. काम की कमी नहीं है. You just need to be really, really competent and good at marketing yourself as well. Okay, वहाँ पे कोई शर्म वरम की जरूरत नहीं है. So you have a service you're providing, go ask to be represented, ask to be given an opportunity, design a workshop, give workshops for free so people know how good you are. Right? I mean, a lot of people invite me for webinars after having seen me on YouTube, and that's so my YouTube videos are in a way like you could say like a soft advertisement for how I speak or what I speak or या आदमी सिर्फ दाढ़ी हुआ के बैठा है कि इसको कुछ आता भी है कि नहीं. So you know, it's all right. People are going to look at you suspiciously. ये कौन है सुबह सुबह बात करने आया? That's okay. You have to develop your own style and deliver it in a way that is comfortable to you. Like for me, I like to talk to people like I'm having a chat with them, like they've come home to have chai with me. I don't speak in a very structured. Today we are going to talk about the alleviation of stress and its manifestations on your behavior and daily schedule. The first attribute of stress is eight different. If I talk like that, people can go to sleep. "Ye kya aadmi hai yaar?" So I'll talk about it in a more fun way. I'll crack some bad jokes. But that's at least that keeps my audience active. So if you want to get in the corporate world, first get into your world out here. Understand who you are as a person, develop a style, develop a network, develop a module. I hope that answers your question, Kamini.
Hello.
Yes.
So I want to ask a question, especially in regard to this pandemic. Like, how do
Bolo.
we calm down a person who is going through a chronic illness and facing a lot of uncertainties and getting anxious because of this?
So you will definitely have to deliver them to the care of a counselor. Now, are they only suffering from something like dispositional anxiety, or is there a problem with sleep as well? Has the diet been, compromised as well? So you may have to bring in a team of people based on their expertise. So you may need a counselor, but you may also need a psychiatrist if there is very chronic symptoms. Sometimes the medication they're on also may lead to certain mood related variances. So that also needs to be known. So the family needs to be very well educated on what is happening. Having said that, I believe very strongly all human beings are ultimately responsible for how they feel emotionally. But if they need help and support, that needs to be accessed. So if someone is hell bent on feeling miserable, and you are hell bent on not letting them be miserable, chances are they will win, because they will still do or feel what they are ready to do or feel, regardless of your best intent. So, my mom used to say to me, do your best and leave the rest. You know, like if you get them a counselor's appointment or you get them connected to a good psychiatrist, maybe some pills are required. Uh, and then they refuse to see that person, हमको नहीं ये सब करना है, then that's it. Then that they have chosen their fate. Having said that, all human beings are free to choose their fate, whether it's a happy fate or a really shitty fate that you have chosen for yourself. We have to give them that freedom, even if it's
Uh,
unpleasant.
if I say like if they are very close to me, then how do I convince them to get to a counselor?
See, Shifa, you can try to convince them by illustrating the benefits to them. Tell them that if you go to a counselor, you have someone to speak to, you sort of exorcise all those inner emotions, you have a bouncing board, you have someone who's objective, who's external to the family, who does not going to come talk to you through any emotional bias because they don't even know you. So they're going to be able to give you some perspective, much needed perspective. And maybe they help you with some innovative ideas on how to spend your time, find a project. Uh, you know, I believe most people who are terminally ill, if they find a project, it helps them deal with the pain a little better. Finding a project could be to write a book, write your memoirs, record videos of what you're going through, maybe to leave behind after you're no more, if it's that level, or connecting with friends. Like I remember my grandmother, when she had started showing signs of illness. So I used to go with my iPad when it was a new thing, many many years ago. iPad 2 was launched, and we used to play Fruit Ninja together, my grandmother and me. And she used to enjoy that game so much. She's passed on, but that was like her favorite thing to do. She used to say that she's a Maharashtrian lady, and "Fadanta wala te khelaise." She used to say like, and I used to enjoy it. So you have to create these little interfaces for them. We have to introduce them to new technology, you know, introduce them to a group of people who can support them. You have a lot of these seniors groups now on WhatsApp. They have their own Zoom catch-ups, etc. So you have to be creative. Even if they don't want to go to a counselor, as a family member, Shifa, you have to be very, very creative because you know their personalities, you know what they like. And I think all people who feel basically compromised because of poor health, to some degree, um, they feel disrespect towards themselves. They say, "मेरे इतने बुरे दिन कब आ गए?" So you need to engineer activities in their lives that help them feel respect for themselves. Let them feel in control of small things. But they should feel involved. They should not feel like liabilities. They should feel like, oh no, I am still very much required. So you're injecting in them the will to live. You're injecting in them the excitement to live. You're injecting in them, some kind of enthusiasm that they can share with other people as well. And yes, it's a daily challenge. If someone is terminally ill and very pessimistic, it is a daily challenge. So that's why I said there's a team that needs to be arranged to support them.
Thank you, sir.
Sometimes you may not be able to help, Shifa, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you are not capable, or that doesn't mean that you don't have the right desires. Sometimes we can't help the people we love. That's just how life is. Because if they refuse to be helped, even your best advice and most earnest and honest counsel is going to completely bounce off them like it didn't matter. And then you end up feeling jaded. Well, but you don't need to take personal responsibility for someone else's poor choices. Even if it disturbs you, that's just how it is. We get to decide who we become and who we don't become in this world.
Just one more question. Uh, like if somebody has returned from a quarantine center and still
Yep.
continues to be overly protective at home, like not sharing plates or glasses and still wearing mask at home. Now that is not normal, I think. So what do I say?
No, definitely not. So this comes under the umbrella of paranoid behavior. So then they definitely require counseling. They definitely would even need to speak to a psychiatrist at some point, because that kind of delusional paranoia might need to be treated even with medicines, because then that's completely unwarranted, of course. But Sometimes it's just a phase that they are going through. So such people need to be given a lot of love and support. Not that, अरे आप इतने stupid चीज क्यों कर रहे हो? अरे वो खत्म हो गया है. अरे. The more अरे you do, the more they're going to be like no. So it's like human beings naturally, right? Like if I was in front of you right now, Shifa, I'd say, okay, Shifa, make your fist tight. Okay, let's do it right now, Shifa. Make your fist super tight. Okay. Now, if I try to open your fist, you're going to naturally resist me, na? If I actually put my hand and try, I haven't told you to resist me. But if I say, okay, I'm going to fish, if I'm going to open your fist, I'm going to just say, if I try to open your fist, I reach in there, I try to open it. Your natural instinct is what? To resist me. Yeah, I'm not going to let him open my fist. Your natural instinct won't be, हाँ ठीक है, खोल दिया. You will put up resistance because human beings are like that. You know, we our ancestors were in caves and in jungles, so we are very flight or fight oriented. Because if I try to get you to open your fist, forcefully, I try to get you to open your fist, you're not going to want to open it. But if I request you, I say, hey, Shifa, can you please open your fist? You're going to open it. So, how you speak to your family, when you speak to them, and the manner in which, then I said, how you speak is a manner in which, like, you don't try to force them. It's good for you, do it. You do stupid, you don't understand. Then they're going to be like, screw you, I won't do it. So you try to beseech them, you try to be nice, you try to gently slide it in. Say, hey, you know what? Maybe you want to walk around without a mask. You know, we don't feel threatened by you. We love you. We're here for you. You know, you're no longer a threat. You know, you're medically as well getting better. So if you feel like, you can remove your mask. If you don't feel like, you continue to wear it. But you know, you're not going to sweat behind that. Yeah, why you want to? Then you'll have some skin related issue. Why you want to have another issue? If you still want to, it's your choice. So see, when you say it this way, they feel a lot less threatened. They feel a lot less attacked. So that is the way to do it. How you say is the key. And who says also? बच्चा बोल रहा है, बाप को ज्ञान सिखाएगा. It becomes that also, na? You're some little kid like Shifa, you look very young, you know, you have a very innocent face. You try to give them some knowledge, they're going to be like, ये बच्ची हमको कल की बच्ची हमको समझा रही है, हमको नहीं पता life कैसे जीनी है. So that also sometimes ego भी आ जाता है ना families में. When you're too close to each other, you don't care what the other person is saying. हाँ हमको मालूम है तुमने बहुत पढ़ लिया है नेशनल कॉलेज में जाके, हमको मत सिखाओ. That also happens in some families. So your role may also create biases. Like, you know, Shifa, when I was very young, I had a nickname. It was called Babyface. When I was, now you can tell I have a very deep voice. Now imagine when someone is 19 years old, has no facial hair, but still has this voice. People used to think that this is not my natural voice. I'm pretending to sound this way because I look like a kid. Up to I'm 34 years old, but when I was your age, I looked like absolute bachchu. So no one used to take me seriously at the ad agency. I had such good ideas. I had the most innovative ideas. But say बच्चा है, say तू बैठ जा. So cute, you know. उसको थोड़ा एक coffee पिलाओ बच्चे को. उसको बड़े ideas आ रहे हैं. Seniors के सामने बोल रहा है. And I used to get so upset. Then I started growing my hair long, thinking मेरी उम्र ज़्यादा लगेगी. And for several years, if you follow me on Insta, you'll see I had very long hair. यहाँ तक मेरे बाल होते थे. Because I wanted to look older than my age. But then I reached my 30s. I said, it's not required anymore. Now I finally look my age. So your credibility in the eyes of your family may not be there for what you are saying to be effective. So that can also cause issues. So don't अपने आप पे हर चीज की जिम्मेदारी नहीं लेते शिफा. Sometimes things just happen. At least कोशिश तो की है ना आपने. So that's all there is.
Thank you so much, sir.
Any more questions, guys, or should we consider winding this up now that it's only 12:30? I think, Anna.
Yeah, we didn't even, I didn't realize at least.
If anyone has any last question, you can ask me. No problem. Kamini, I wish you all the best if you're trying to make inroads in corporate training. There's a lot of work, there are a lot of corporates. I wish you all the best. I hope you get what you want. Only know that people during a pandemic are less likely to want to spend money towards a consultant's fees unless you're damn good. And they say, yaar, is Mohtarma ko bulao, so she will sort things out. That then that, as I said, really is a question of your competence and your reputation. Anything else, or
At least we
how
can.
do Guess what is on my glass? There's an incredible Hulk for how people are angry nowadays. Ne? So I keep drinking from this glass because I keep finding it funny that how we get so angry. How can you get angry at a disease? उसको तो आना ही था ना. उसको भी medical science will fight it, not your anger.
That's it's funny that I have been getting angry a little too at it, even though I know it doesn't
But
work.
yeah, Kiran, we all have such moments here. I too get frustrated sometimes. इंसान है, we're not expected to be behave like enlightened beings. We'll have a couple of shitty days. It's normal, yeah. You just have to see it as bad weather and deal with it. That's what I feel.
Absolutely, absolutely.